On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Peg Fitzpatrick about ways to power up your social media and power up your brand. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and I am honored, super excited today to be joined by Peg Fitzpatrick. Now, Peg is a popular social media speaker, trainer, social media author. She co-authored The Art of Social Media, Power Tips for Power Users. Thank you so much, Peg, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I love marketing and joy, so how could I not come?
I love it. That's great. That's great. Well, I want to tell you, you and I haven't talked about this off the air, but last year my goal was to read 50 books. And one of them I read was The Art of Social Media, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was super tactical and really great. I took a lot out of it. So why did you decide to write that book, and what's the response been?
Okay, so the reason that I decided to write The Art of Social Media is because I get asked a lot, how do I do everything that I do? How do I do, because I manage, I myself have over 1 million followers across a ton of social media platforms, and I manage over 13 million every day. So I have I'm balancing a lot of balls. So people are always like, how do you do what you do? So what I did was I just tried to figure out the best way that I could to help people, do what I do, because I can't individually help people. I don't take consulting clients. I don't have time. I can't answer everybody's questions, even though I do help people a lot during the day. So this was kind of my way of saying, okay, let me see if I can give people a good handle on what I've learned and how they can do it. And so I came up with the idea, and I pitched it to Guy Kawasaki, who I work with, and he was like, that's amazing. And he was like, sure, let's write it. And then 2 weeks later, he was like, I don't really want to write a book on social media. And I was like, okay. I'm like, well, I'm still writing it. It's going to be awesome. So I'm still on my book. So I kept writing it, and then I got to a certain point and I figured, okay, I'll send it to Guy and see what he thinks, which I have to tell you is the scariest thing ever. Because number one, he's an amazing writer. He's one of my favorite authors, and he's not going to BS me. He's not the kind of person that would read it and be like, oh yeah, that's really good. He would tell you this is bad, and there's already books on this. He's straight up the real deal. He's not gonna, he wouldn't waste his time saying something that wasn't true. So of course that's the person that you want to read it, right. But that's also the scariest person to send it to.
Totally.
Yeah. So then he read it and he loved it, and he was like, okay, well, I love it. It could use some work here and there. Let's work together on it. And so then we went through another process of going through it and writing it. And then it evolved into what it is now. So that was kind of, why I did it. And I'm happy with the book. I look at it now, and of course, there's things that have updated and changed, but we knew that would happen because social media, you can write a blog post and everything changes by the time you hit publish. So for a book, for sure, the same thing happens, but the general principles remain the same. Sometimes the platforms and tools change a little bit, but a lot of times the overall ideas, remain the same.
Yeah, like I said, what I loved about it was really tactical. I mean, there's some really specific things that I took out of it. I changed my profile picture across platforms. I was like, well, yeah, that just makes sense. When I read it, and I love the chapter where you talked about how to do social media on events. So I highly recommend that book for anyone who's trying to do social media well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the past, one of the things that I've noticed is that social media and sort of blogging has been viewed as separate. Now, I read a recent blog from you that said, hey, marketers need to look at those things as complementary.
Together.
Yeah.
Right? And I've always felt that way since I started. I think it really was separate. I think blogging was one thing and social media was a separate thing. But I just read an article, not on my blog, that was talking about BuzzFeed, who is amazing. They get ready for their number, 5 billion hits to a blog a month. 5 billion a month.
That's amazing.
So they clearly have figured it out.
Yeah.
75% of that is from social media.
Wow. That's
so
amazing.
What can we learn from that? more social media for your blog. People, there's so many blogs in the world now. People are not just going to find it on their own by searching for, like, I'm joyful about marketing. What can I find? Like, how are people going to find, help with marketing for small business? There's just so many blogs now that social media is what really, really helps people find it. Organic search is still number one to my blog, which is awesome. But social media is, what I can personally do to make my blog post more popular. So you should definitely spend as much time promoting your post as you do writing it, which is a very different concept for people. But, you put together a show like you do, it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
You find the guests, you do the questions, you're editing, you're, interviewing, and then you're creating all the information. You can't just hit publish, whether it's a blog post, podcast, video, those kind of all have the same things that you need to do.
Sure.
You have to do things afterwards to help people find it.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And that's the piece where I like what you say about spending as much time in promoting it as you do working on it, editing it, writing it, because I think that's a different way of looking at it.
It is a very new way of looking at it, but I think that's definitely the way things are going. Because the reality is we can only create so much new original content.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It is.
I do one blog post a week. Yeah. And I applaud myself for getting my one blog post out. I'm an individual. Like, I don't have a team. I don't have a bunch of people, doing my research, doing my editing, doing my promotion. It's all me. And I'm happy that I get one really good blog post out a week. Could my blog get more traffic if I did more blog posts? Sure, but I would be really stressed. Yeah. And I think the quality would suffer. So I go for quality over quantity. And then I go for quality and quantity for my social media posts. Like, I work more on the social aspect of it. So,
I think you're consistent too. So whether you decide to do it every day or every week, you're consistent with that, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, there was a time when the big bloggers were telling everybody, no, you need to publish more. Like, every day, if you want to be, And I love Jay Bear to death. I love Jay Bear. Yeah. But he's on, like, this daily thing. He's got a big team of people, right? Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk has a team of people.
Exactly.
They put out a lot of content.
Yeah, no.
They could put out more blog posts, more things, because they have more people. Jay's got like 5 podcasts, I think, now associated with his blog. So he's got other people hosting, other people doing it. I'm still like organic in me. And there's nothing wrong with having a team. Like, if that's awesome. But I don't recommend to other people that you try to put out 5 blog posts a week, because I don't do it.
Yeah, right.
I think the one quality piece is better than trying to just do too much that you can't handle.
So that actually leads me nicely into my next question, my last question for you. In addition to this web show, one of the things I've gotten feedback from is that they wanted to hear it in a podcast form. So we've made that transition. And then I've actually kind of taken this crazy leap of trying to do one podcast per business day. So 5 days a week I'm doing a podcast, and it's been an effort, right?
Yeah.
So what tips do you have to give a newbie like me to get the most reach and ultimately impact?
Well, I would come up with a way to promote each podcast, and I would be consistent with it. So, when you do your podcast, how are you going to promote it? Are you going to do, some quote? Are you going to do are you doing a blog post with them as well?
Often, and candidly, I'm not doing it every time.
Yeah. If you do a big longer interview that's like really amazing and you love it, you could do a transcript for it and then do the transcript as a blog post, so then you get the SEO, and you could put that also on YouTube because you're videotaping them. So think of as many ways as you can to get the content that you create out there. So you're going to create tweets. You could do 2 tweets per podcast. So do like the title of the podcast, and then do like your favorite little quote from the person. So think of ways to do it like that. Like, put something on Instagram, do a little quote from the person, like make one little template for your podcast for an Instagram thing. And then every time you do a podcast, so it's not recreating the wheel. There's a lot of benefits to that. You don't have to think, okay, what kind of graphic am I going to create? You already have your little podcast template. It could have the person's little picture. It could have a little quote. Have you tried Relay that?
I have not. Relay that.
Okay. Relay. Yeah, it's Relay. Relay is the name of the product, but their website is relaythat.com. And they have really cool graphics for podcasts and interviews. So you could create a little template, and then the next day you just go in and you take the little quote. So it's not recreating the wheel, but you're creating something new for each thing. So that's what I would try.
Okay.
That's what I would. Are you on Pinterest?
I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm not much on Pinterest.
Okay, so don't worry about it because you're doing podcasting. Like, you don't want to start another new thing. So do it on Instagram, and then just be consistent. Post your quote post one every day that's a quote from your daily podcast. The days that you're not publishing a new one, just do something like about your office, what you're doing, whatever. And then, keep tweeting it. So that's what I would do, is come up with how you're going to promote it. I just did a blog post on that. There's one that I recently just did that's like how to promote your blog content.
Okay.
So just come up with your things that you're going to do and be consistent with them. And when you create your little templates, it won't be so hard. It seems like it's a lot, but once you get into okay, I'm hitting publish. Now I'm going to do this.
I like that.
And then once it's out there, it makes it easier and more people will find it.
That's fantastic advice. Fantastic advice. I really appreciate it. I actually took some notes while you're talking.
Awesome.
Well, you've answered all my questions. I give everybody the opportunity to ask me one question, so I'll let you do that.
Okay. So who is your ultimate podcast guest that you would love to have on that you haven't had yet, and why?
Can I give you two?
I guess so.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, now that I have had you on, Gary Vaynerchuk and Seth Godin. Those are both, and I've efforted a little bit in that regard. I've reached out to both of them separately, and so I think that'll probably just be an ongoing effort to try and nail them down. I know they're both super busy guys.
Yeah, well, Gary's doing book promotion, so you never know. You might luck out.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I just got a chance to see him. I was out in Phoenix at a conference, and he was a speaker, and so he's always very gracious. It's just a matter of trying to find the time.
Yeah, he's busy. I know. You can only do so many interviews and things. It's hard to squeeze everything. Well, good luck getting your dream guests. Those are. Did you see, by the way, when Gary had Seth on his show? That
was one of my favorite Ask Gary V's ever.
Yeah, people were going insane in the commenting.
Well, it was fun because, it's interesting because actually he brought it up at the conference. He was like, how many of you thought I interrupted him too much? And people were kind of commenting. I was like, I kind of felt like it was two friends having a conversation like two friends do. And so it didn't bother me at all. I thought it was good.
I don't think people get Gary's New York personality sometimes. They think that he's not listening, but he's totally listening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, Peg. And I would love to do it again sometime. This was fun.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
All right. Well, that wraps up another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching, but wait! Can you do me a favor? Please subscribe to my channel. If you haven't done it already, the way to do it's right over here. And hey, if you want to watch the last episode, check that out over here. Again, before you leave, subscribe!